Hello everyone, I'm Pranshu. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar. I can see a few people trying to log in, so we'll just give them a few seconds to set themselves up and we can get started. Meanwhile, I'd just like you all to know that we will be answering your questions if you have any doubts, questions, clarifications you need after the speakers are done with their bit. So please do put in your questions in the Q&A box, not in chat. It will be easier for us to address as many as possible after this session. And I hope my screen is also very clearly visible. Right, so I'll quickly introduce WalkingTree to anyone joining us for the first time. WalkingTree Technologies is a technology-focused company with a core focus on designing and building cross-platform web and mobile applications, performing system integrations, and enabling digital transformation. We also specialize in data integration, data analytics, and migration from legacy to modern systems. Our Pentaho consulting and Pentaho analytics solutions enable organizations to put data to work for better and timely decision making. Our expert team of Pentaho developers and Pentaho designers make most of the Pentaho suite to access, integrate, correlate, visualize, and present the data that can improve and impact decisions. We work with a range of business intelligence solutions across all domains, empowering businesses to meet their data related requirements. Now, on to our three speakers of the day. We first have Scott, who's our CTO. He has been a problem solver and an entrepreneur and a technology leader for almost 30 years now. Under his leadership, we have been able to establish a wide range of digital and data analytics capabilities and an innovable client-centric innovation culture. He's also helping our clients and the WalkingTree team with the big picture insights and new thinking that allow them to act decisively in solving challenges, seizing opportunities, and sparking innovative growth. Abhilasha has more than 16 years of experience leading high-performing teams in building enterprise-scale products and applications. This includes over a decade of experience leading end-to-end design and development of sophisticated analytics solutions across diverse industry segments. We also have Shubham with us, who's been with WalkingTree for almost close to 5 years now, actually, and takes great interest in solving the last mile problems in analytics. He comes with hands-on experience in ensuring continuous delivery of innovative software solutions. Now, before we start with today's agenda, I'll just want to remind you all that we will be having some time at the end after our speakers are done with their bit. So please do you put your questions, any clarifications, doubts that you have in the Q&A box, and we will try to answer as many as time permits today. So that's it from me. Over to you, Scott. How are you doing?
Hey, doing great, Prince Yu. How are you doing? It's good to see all of you and all of the folks on the call today. First of all, I just want to say to any of you, I am in the Atlanta area, down in the Tech Square area. So any of you in the Atlanta area, reach out to me, hit me up on LinkedIn. I'd love to meet with you and talk with you, just to hear about your companies and about kind of problems you're solving, those kind of things. So kind of want to open up that invitation. So if you're in the Atlanta area, please look me up. I'm on LinkedIn out there under Scott Seabolt, so you should be able to find me. What I'd like to do first is, let's see, Prince, do you want me to share, or are you gonna keep sharing? Yeah, you're on mute. Sorry.
I'll stop sharing my screen. You can take over from here.
Okay. Okay, very good. Sorry, one second while this is loading up. Okay, there we go. So what I'd like to do first is just open up and discuss a little more about, kind of on the business side of things, and kind of look at, AI in the insurance, maybe talk about a little bit of the banking industry as well. And so just approach it a little more from a business standpoint before we kind of deep dive into, using Pentaho for the same. So I think one of the things that I've seen over the years of trying to work with AI and ML is a lot of times a company will deploy AI, ML in some fashion, but they really don't know how to use it, really don't know what the value is. They try to do a little research on it, try to, sell a project to business stakeholders. And it's sometimes tough, right, to say, well, this is what is going to come out of this, when actually some of the analysis that's done through AI and ML is we find out things, right? So what I'd like to do a little bit as we open up here is to talk about some of those things from a business perspective. And the first area, just real high level, and then we'll kind of dig down, and that's around, automation in operations, so time savings. Another area, of course, that's really big from a financial or from from an insurance standpoint is fraud prevention, right? So fraud prevention, compliance and risk analysis, right? So we want to be able to detect fraud early before it has a real impact, right? And then on the side of claims management, we want to be able to process those claims faster and also accurately, right? And again, kind of going back to the fraud about, looking for different things when a claim is made, we want to be able to know that as well. So it kind of ties in with that fraud analysis as well. And then really just customer analysis. We want to make it tailored and cheaper insurance for the clients as well. So cost savings not only for the provider, but also, or the carrier, but also for the clients or customers themselves. All right. Next, let's talk a little bit more as we drill down. We're going to get a little more in detail. Artificial intelligence can help banks or insurance companies deliver service with both efficiency and key is with quality. By facilitating really these following items that you're going to see here. And that's one I've already mentioned kind of around is risk tolerance calculations and assessments for trading desks, claim analysis, asset management, risk calculations and preventions, then consistent optimization of customer investments and insurance coverage. So AI allows us to analyze a lot of data, right? And we'll talk about that in a minute, being there's a lot of data out there. So there's the kind of having the right data, having the right quality of the data, and having data without bias and so forth. But also transaction analysis for banks and financial organizations, selection of better investments based on preferences and then risk and spending patterns. And certainly not last and certainly not least, but AI can also help us provide, that better customer experience, right? So, and that's done through several means. And we'll look at that a little deeper too, anything from, things like chat bots and so on. And then just really in what reports, what coverage and analysis that we're able to provide using AI as well. That all provides a better customer service experience. So let's look at some of the things. Why, why would you not do this? What are some of the challenges that may be faced by the insurance industry, right? And part of that is the digital capabilities are not meeting the digital goals. So in other words, the current capabilities of the carrier might not be able to reach those digital goals that they have. The other is just the resistance to automation, right? Within an insurance carrier, there's a lot of talented people, a lot of really very distinct roles that are in that company that know what they're doing, right? They know the data that they're looking at. So there's maybe a bit of a resistance to automating that, afraid that we're going to get away maybe from some of that intelligence. And that is an important thing, and that's why it's important to have data quality and data quantity, the right data and the right quality of data to analyze. The other is this trust factor for machine-defined outputs, right? Do we really trust what we're seeing? So as you're developing these models and looking at the outcomes of these, they have to be trustworthy in what we're looking at. So we have to be able to quantify what we're actually seeing from the results of from the AI outcomes. So, and the other's just around social media and mobile, still, being marginalized. Well, what are some things, again, that we look at and what AI can provide to, an insurance carrier? And that's delivering efficient customer service, just like we said earlier. And that's done through many different means. We'll look at some of those use cases as well. And then it's around fraud detection and prevention, right? So we really want to know before there's fraud, but we certainly want to know about the fraud before it actually has cost anything to the carrier or customer, even in terms of data and so forth. Insurance pricing and underwriting. Underwriting, I think, is a huge area that AI is being used and can be used, and that's to help aid that whole underwriting process to make it more efficient, accurate, and really to optimize it, I would say. Then accelerate claims processing, right? So when there's a claim, we want to be able to quickly process the claim. Again, it goes back to two things with that, right, is providing and making sure that we've got a non-fraudulent claim. And then also, if there is a claim, we want to get that claim settled for that client, right? So they can move on with whatever aspect of their lives that's really been hit by whatever event that's caused the claim. Also, claims reserve optimization. So those funds that are sitting out there, those reserves that are out there, we want to make sure those are optimized. AI can help us optimize what reserves are sitting out there and how they're invested and so on. And then personalized recommendations, right? So AI can certainly look at a large chunks of data and be able to give personalized recommendations accordingly. And then there's prediction of customer churn. So, what's our company going to look like? Are we going to have customers coming in and out? So certainly an area that AI and ML can aid. So told you we're going to look at a little more detail. So we'll try to quickly go through this so we can get to some of the technical details. But again, it's important to know how to, see if I can get rid of this. Oops, there we go. All right. Okay, so let's look at the different use cases, maybe the different areas within the insurance business, right, throughout the process, the whole cycle of engaging a client to managing a claim to recruiting employees for the insurance carrier as well. So the first one we'll look at is around that marketing and sales distribution. So one of the areas and the use cases that this can be used is, what I'll try to do with this is kind of go through the use case and some of the items that we can implement with AI and machine learning, and then look at the benefits of them accordingly. So the first one is automated data extraction from things like PDF reports or comparison against various policy combinations. So taking data from a report and then being able to compare it against the various policy combinations that might be out there. And then automated demand analysis, and that's really around when we're generating a new product offering, what would be the demand for that product, right? So AI can provide us that opportunity for that as well. And then for machine learning insights to support customer segmentation, And along those lines, what are the benefits? Well, enhanced pricing. We can do enhanced pricing, customized products and services for the clients, and improve speed. Improve speed shift focus from product to market needs. So in other words, we can move quickly. We don't have to take 10 years to figure out that something is working or not working. And then when something's changing quickly, we're able to adapt to that quickly, right? And the other areas around automated creation of targeted market materials and promotions. So we're not just blindly using advertising dollars or promotional materials. We can use AI to really point those marketing materials and promotions in the right places. Also, customer personality and tone analysis, so we can really analyze those customers and what are the customer personalities, what's the tone of those clients as well, so we can better read how to serve them. And then enabling intelligent customer engagement, workload balance, lead allocation for agents. So being able to, again, from a marketing and sales and distribution standpoint, we can look at again about the leads that are allocated to the different agents, so we can kind of load balance our incoming lead generation and so forth. And the benefits around that are new marketing channels with tailored campaigns, so we can intelligently now through machine learning provide really good detailed information for new marketing channels. Automate product recommendations and natural language question answering. So when we start talking about natural language now, right, we have lots of good natural language processing that we can use through AI. Things like GPT-3, for instance, and if you've tuned into any of our other webinars, we've gone through several different webinars with GPT-3 around natural language processing, and the other areas around enabling self-service research for customers. So we can allow through AI, we can provide a good experience through for customers to research, their own self and do self-service. And then there's intelligence and visualization, and what this all leads to is increased lead generation, efficiently leverage, for cross and upselling effectiveness. So do we need to upsell the client, right? And what do we upsell? So we can intelligently provide that information. And then really it's all about increased service quality. Okay, the next area is really around underwriting. And again, I think this one is already being used a lot and will continue to be a big winner for the insurance industry around underwriting, right? So what can AI do for us, right? It can allow us to extract insights from multiple data sources, including unstructured data. And then we can do automated demand analysis and generation of new product offerings, enhanced pricing and policy rating, personalization for policies. So it allows us to really get fine-grained in what we're looking at as far as what a customer is really required in terms of a policy. And then there's natural language question and answering for employees too. So as an employee is working through the underwriting process, there's lots of good tools out there for natural language processing. So it provides a better way to even our employees, right, to engage in the whole underwriting process. And again, looking at benefits for some of these around AI, ML, and underwriting, we can have an efficient and lean underwriting process, improved hit and retention ratios. So we're really, providing really good, intelligent insight into this underwriting process, so we know that we're going to get improved hits and good retention, and then also increased, evaluation quality, right? So through AI ML, you can do lots more research, lots more digging into that data, and do some intelligent analysis in terms of evaluation quality for the particular for the particular policy being written. And then around servicing, those policies, so service and policy administration. We can take action on external emails and requests, so we can do that more in an automated fashion. Automation of call center, and we talked a little bit about web chats as well, but automation of call center and web chat servicing. So there's really some cool stuff we can do using AI around those web chats. So most everyone now has web bots that answer questions. You start asking it a question, it comes back with a list of things that might be, well, through natural language processing and other AI techniques, right? We can provide a really more immersive experience as far as a web chat or a web bot. The other is the other item around this is assistance for self-service queries on policy issuance. Issuance, endorsements, cancellations, renewals. So any of those type activities AI can assist in. And then processing, again, of that unstructured data. Unstructured data, just from a human standpoint, is difficult and time consuming to go through. But with AI and machine learning, we can more quickly and accurately process that unstructured data even. So what are the benefits here around servicing and policy administration? Hey, increased administration process efficiency, increased analytical insights. And then kind of coming to a close on this portion of the benefits, of the use cases and benefits, let's look at the claims management, right? So, you know, real-time Q&A service for when a claim first comes in. So when the claim is first made, we can automatically start processing that in real time, doing Q&A around it. Pre-assessment of claims and automated damage evaluation. Prediction of claim volume patterns. So as we start looking at different patterns, different volumes, we can gather and glean information from that even, right? Augmentation of loss analysis. So we can take a look at, again, intelligently looking at loss analysis and really augment that well with AI and machine learning. Benefits around that for claim management are high quality of claims assessment, management, administration, and then improved predictability of reserved and fraud. So we can more efficiently and accurately process those claims. So we know where reserves are going and might be going. For example, you're looking at all these different patterns, whether it might be, you know, there's storms that come through, there's flooding that happens. So look for different patterns like that, so we kind of know where those reserves might be going or might be allocated, and where there might be fraud. And lastly, from a recruiting standpoint as well, one that we might not think about when we talk about AI and in the insurance industry, but we can do contextual, and we've done some of this for even internally from an IT standpoint. So I think it applies across the board, really. Contextual analytics and skill ontology to score CVs against job descriptions, so we can more accurately line up, look at those CV resumes and job descriptions to see who might be the best fits. Predicting candidates who can get through the entire selection process. So, you know, may have a candidate that might make it through the first round, but as we look at them and look at their backgrounds, look at their resumes and history, we can better see with AI and ML to know that, hey, yeah, they're going to make it here, but they're probably not going to make it through the whole process. So let's don't take them, and don't take the time that's required to interview them throughout the process. Again, prioritizing candidates based on hireability metrics, leveraging online assessments. So we can use online assessments and use AI and ML to do that analyzation for us. And then, you know, again, what are the benefits? The benefits around recruiting are optimized conversion rates. So in other words, when we interview someone, we have a greater probability of converting them into employees. And then also improve match rates and offer acceptance. So again, we know what we can offer. We know the candidates we're looking for. We want to be able to more quickly and more pointedly get to those, to the right candidates. So hopefully that gives you a little detail around the business perspective of this on how, let's just say you're trying to take this and you're actually doing the implementation of this. Well, what is your win for your business, right? How do we really justify going in and doing the research and setting up models and so forth? So hopefully this helps you to realize some of the potential activities and then the benefits towards them. And with that, I am going to turn it over to Abhilasha to discuss DataOps and MLOps using Pentaho. So Abhilasha, I am going to turn it over to you. Hope you're having a good day, and we look forward to what you got to tell us around this.
Thank you, Scott. That was really enlightening. So we got to see how AI/ML can be applied on different areas in insurance, and some of which is generic, as we saw, right? So now moving on, like as the session today, we are going to look at how we can use Pentaho for the same purpose. So to start with, like some of you may already be somewhere in the journey of data, and you would have heard these terms, DataOps and MLOps. But just a quick recap. When we are talking about data and getting to make data useful in the journey, so that is what is all about DataOps. So basically, we are trying to bring in the best of communication, integration, and automation of data to bring in all the key players, be able to act on the data and bring in the best value out of the data. So here what you see is the Gartner definition of DataOps, where it is the collaborative data management practice. And today we'll see how we can achieve this using Pentaho. Also, like DataOps is the first step, and then when we have to take it to the next level and we have to apply the predictive and prescriptive maintenance on top of the data, we would actually be applying the ML models, and that is where MLOps is another set of practices which makes this whole journey very much important, and you can say maintainable, because just doing AI/ML is not enough. Being able to do it in the best way, and that is what MLOps provides. A mechanism, a set of practices that aims to deploy and maintain the models which you have tried out on your data, and you're taking it to production, and you can reliably use it there if needed, monitor it and change it, update the data, change the models. All this is what makes the data journey complete with DataOps and MLOps. And with that context, we look at what Pentaho has to offer here. So Pentaho, as we know, it's like a well-known suite. It has been in the industry for a while, and being open source. So it has both an open source version as well as an enterprise version. And the open source version is also quite powerful. It has a lot of capabilities which are required for being able to make use of your data in the best possible way. And that is where, like, if we have to segregate the Pentaho suite, there are two main aspects to it: the data integration aspect and the business analytics aspect. And in order to use implement DataOps and MLOps using Pentaho, these are the three things which are the most important. And of course, there are many more parts to this suite. But today's focus on these three things. So starting with Pentaho data integration tool. So this is where you will connect your data from different sources, be it traditional data models, or maybe social media data, or your CRM tools. So from a variety of sources, you try to extract your data, you transform, and you load it into your database, your data warehouse. That is how your PDI helps you to bring your data, aggregate it, and model it into a proper format so that you can make your value out of your data. So you can actually do your data cleansing, data integration, you can set up your data warehouse, and additionally, you can have your ML models plugged in. And that is what we will see later on as Shubham will showcase this to you. Now, that is where PDI takes your data to the next level. Also, so this is augmented by your Pentaho report designer, which is the report creation tool, which is available standalone, as well as it is a part of your analytics server. But being a very sophisticated report development tool, and with the capabilities it provides, wherein you can actually drag and drop and build your reports, and really makes it very easy to play with your data and to see how your data is changing, where your data is making impact. So all that you can do with the Pentaho report designer. And once you have segregated or brought your data from different sources, you would do the analytics on top of it, and that is where your Pentaho analytics server is what will help you there. So this server is actually like a platform which comes with different capabilities. So it provides you the security on top of your data. It allows you to manipulate your data, visualize your data, analyze, so irrespective of the form of your data, whether it's like a huge data set or it's a big data you are handling in Hadoop or any other such data platforms, like be it a SQL, a NoSQL. So you can actually do your analysis on top of the data, and it provides, so again here, your enterprise version comes with a further, you can say, rich set of capabilities, but with the community version as well, you have your community dashboard edition, where you can actually segregate and build beautiful dashboards using this analytic, your analyzer, as well as your report designer. And additionally, you have plugins like the Psychoanalyzer, which enables you to perform more detailed analysis on top of your data in your community version itself. And with the enterprise version, you get the advanced Pentaho analyzer, your dashboard designer, your interactive dashboards. So these different set of tools which work on different types of data, but give you that visualization, which is actually the key requirement for any business user to be able to easily look at your data and make sense out of it. So now if I'll just quickly go through some of the tools here. So when you start with your data journey, the three aspects of making the data ready is like when you're extracting from different sources, and you would be setting up your data model in your Pentaho. That is where you would decide whether you want your data to reside in a single table, or you would want to have a proper like a star or a snowflake schema. So that would fall under the analyzer category. And if you have like a normalized data model which you want to perform your reporting on top of it, then it would fall under the metadata. So these are two different ways you can do your modeling, and both of these are capable enough to do the transformations, segregations, aggregations on your data, and let you play with your data to make the best sense out of it. On top of that, once you are done with the modeling of your data, so you have this data access wizard, which again comes as part of your analytics server. And this is where you can actually connect to your database and do the modeling. And so this is where you can actually model your dimensional cube, where if it's a star schema or snowflake schema, or you could go with the SQL based metadata. So both these aspects can be handled in the data access wizard. And additionally, like suppose if you want to do more changes to your data once you've done the modeling, so there are other capabilities in the form of schema workbench and metadata editor. These are another two components which are part of your Pentaho analytics server, which let you further like enhance and model your metadata and really polish it to the extent where you want to, where you think it's ready for the next level of reporting and analysis. And that is where you have your Pentaho analyzer and interactive reporting. So these are the tools which are available as part of your enterprise edition, which give you like a rich capability and a rich view of your cube data or your normalized data model. So you can actually do this reporting, and you can, so it's very seamless and a drag and drop tool, which lets you play with the data with the utmost ease. So, so once you have like modeled the data and the data is ready, so now we look at like how we achieve. So we talked about DataOps and MLOps, and that is, we know that it is like you're operationalizing your data pipeline. So what are the different steps which have to be there as part of your data workflow? So you're preparing your data, you're engineering the features which are needed, the features which are already available in your data, or you would be doing some feature engineering. You would be like creating some new features as part of using your existing features. Then once you're ready with your features, which you want to try out different models, and Pentaho PDI comes with these model plugins which can be used, and you can apply it to your data. You can train the models, then you can like have a train and test data set, test it out, see which model is giving you the best accuracy before you decide to deploy it as part of your pipeline. And as you're deploying, you can actually you have the capability of whether it's a first time deployment or you're doing an update. So it essentially allows you to keep your model up to date with the new data coming in, and you're trying to like retune your model and maybe change the model and update it in your deployed version. So that is how the whole data pipeline becomes operational, and you can like start seeing the results out of your data. So if we have to just detail out these steps we are talking about, so prepare data and engineering new features, where we started with our first step, where we are combining data from different sources. We are automating the process of this extraction by scheduling and all the transformation pieces, any custom feature engineering. So all these could be embedded as your Python or R logic, which would do the extra transformations and validations, and have your entire pipeline set, wherein then you would train and test your models. You would apply different models which are available as part of your ML libraries, and then you would make it ready for deployment, and all this being as a fully operational workflow, so that you keep a view of your results, and you can set thresholds. So if your accuracy is falling below a certain threshold, you can send alerts to the required admins so that they can immediately take the required action of updating models, or maybe if there's a drift in the data, so accordingly take actions, and make sure that your entire pipeline is working the most efficiently. So to give you a view of the same thing, what I spoke about. So here you can see the different sources from which the data is collected, and this is your ETL part wherein your PDI comes into play, and you would do the required transformations. You would prepare your data. If needed, you would engineer your new features, which would be needed for your ML step. And then this would, so depending on the size of the data, and obviously it would be a big data, because here we are talking about MLM. You need a huge amount of data to bring in your best performance from your models. So you could be using your Hadoop or your edge-based kind of database, and then you again perform the ML. So here you would use your ML plugins to apply the required ML models which are suitable for your specific use case. And then you can actually take it to the next level of deployment, where your pipeline is set and your code is running for it to be consumed by your other applications can actually consume your model and render the results in the UI UX depending on your requirement. Additionally, you can perform your analytical services also, like your visualization on top of this data, because already you have these different features as we saw. So this is how you can actually make sense of your data and have your complete data pipeline set up using the Pentaho suite. And you can like really make sense of your data just by using even the open source version. And if you go for the enterprise version, you have much more powerful features. So now I would like to hand over to Shubham so he can talk more about how and what are the different ML models we can apply on our insurance use cases, what we earlier heard from Scott, and also look at some of the visualizations. So over to you, Shubham.
Thanks, Vilasha, for the great introduction to Pentaho. Hi, everybody. Now I'll be discussing how you can use AI/ML in Pentaho and also make great visualizations for the results for the predictions which you make for different insurance use cases. Let me share my screen. So Abhilasha just introduced us to a couple of client tools in Pentaho. So you have the Pentaho Analytics Server, which is the main component of Pentaho. Everything in Pentaho, be it Pentaho data integration, Pentaho reporting, community dashboard edition, analyzers, they relate to it in one way or the other, because at the end of the day, Pentaho is about data analytics, big data analytics, and whatever you do, be it data integration, be it reporting, be it machine learning now, be it MLOps, which includes monitoring of machine learning models, has to be accessed through some server. So you need to have an entire platform available for you to be able to handle domain specific use cases. And Pentaho BI suite provides you the end-to-end set of products which enable you to do that. So machine learning in Pentaho has been relatively new compared to the other data integration components which have been there. So data integration in Pentaho is done through the client tool known as Pentaho Data Integration, which you see here. So PDI, or as it is also known as Kettle and Spoon, is the Pentaho go-to client tool for data integration. And in this, you have a large number of steps. You have a large number of input and output data sources to take care of your various needs, from small data sources where you have smaller, lesser number of data, maybe a bunch of CSV files, to larger sources where you deal with Hadoop and so on. And it has a number of transform steps which you can use for transforming your data before you load it to your warehouse or any other destination, as may be the case for you. But the focus of this discussion is how Pentaho enables you to do machine learning. So machine learning in Pentaho is enabled through the use of a plugin which is known as plugin for machine intelligence. So if you go to the Pentaho marketplace, you will be able to see the list of plugins which are available there. And one of them is plugin for machine intelligence, which you can just install in Pentaho. So if you see here, there's a list of plugins. So Pentaho data integration, for that matter, other tools within Pentaho like server, analytics server, they have a rich set of capabilities, but then these plugins, of course, enhance the capabilities much further. And what I'm going to discuss here is plugin machine intelligence. So this allows you to add ML features to Pentaho. And I already have this open with me. So as you see here on screen in the lower part, lower left. So here is this PMI, Pentaho for Machine Intelligence, plugin for Machine Intelligence incorporated. And as you see, this provides a whole lot of machine learning models, which you can use for different exercises, different tasks, be it insurance or other domain. So here you have regressor and classify models for from different algorithms, based on different algorithms, be it decision tree, deep learning networks. I mean, you have KRS and TensorFlow, you have extreme gradient boosting, you have forecasting models, you have gradient boosting models, linear and logistic regression, of course, perceptron based models, native wise, naive multinomial and random forest and so on. Now, these all models actually run over different engines. So Pentaho is not just Python based. It's in fact not written in Python. The entire thing is in Java, but Pentaho machine learning, for that matter, like Pentaho integration, doesn't support just one language. You have various frameworks. And if you see here, these are the frameworks which are supported. These are the machine learning engines which are supported in Pentaho right now in the plugin for machine intelligence. And they of course include scikit-learn, which is Python based, but they also include Vika, which is the machine learning library for Java, and DL4J, which is the deep learning library framework for Java. And of course, they have normal other deep learning components like Keras and TensorFlow, and they also support it also supports machine learning in R. Besides that, it supports machine learning in Spark. So one important thing to be taken into consideration here is that one way in which Pentaho is quote unquote a better tool for machine learning is that it allows you to make the best use of different frameworks in different languages to the best of your accuracy that you want to see. So you need not be restricted as a data engineer by your proficiency in one particular language, because at the end of the day, PDI, or for that matter, most of Pentaho is actually a very low code tool. So whatever transformations, input output transformations, ETL that you design in Pentaho is a low code, is in a low code way. So you don't essentially write code. For example, even if you have to, for example, build a decision tree classifier, maybe I'll go there first. I'll start how, for example, for a particular use case of fraud detection, general fraud detection to related to transactions, which can be extended to insurance per se or any other domain also, but certainly in this context, the insurance use case is much more relevant. So first of all, I would like to emphasize that all that you see, it relates to fetching data from different sources, which I'll go through shortly. But you filter rows, you apply constants, you build different models. So all of this is done in low code way. You need not have any knowledge of Python. There are times, of course, you need a knowledge of SQL, but then if you are aware of select star from a table, that's sufficient. Rest of it can be handled by the transform steps in Pentaho. Now, so let me focus on this building models first. So what you see here is I'm fetching some information. So in the preview data section, you can see some information being fetched. So I have a data source associated with this information from where it is being fetched. And here I'm fetching the customer ID, transaction ID, card number, and expiry date. And from this step, I fetch other information, which includes customer name, customer ID, which is the common key, and the customer billing zip, which is there in your transaction in the credit card. Now, I map them together to get a combined set, because just like any data pre-processing you do even before you build a model. So then there are other important data sets which I need to take into consideration, because some of them may well indeed be relevant features to detecting fraudulent transactions. So ship to address, ship to city, ship to country, and so on. These features are considered together in conjunction with the previous features, because some of them may indeed be relevant to your model. And then you consider a transaction fraud report. Essentially, see, machine learning, well, of course, you have both supervised and unsupervised, but in this case, we are discussing supervised first. So you need to have labels for transactions which have been considered fraudulent. So there are some transaction IDs which were reported as fraudulent transactions. So you combine this data set, so you don't have to write long pieces of code to do it. You just have to invoke your relevant data sets, be they from tables or be they from CSVs. And then you apply some formula if you want to do some kind of transformation. And then you select the values which are relevant to you. So this is a kind of, even when you do feature engineering, you disregard some values which you know are not relevant at all. So same you do here. There are some features which you may reject outright. So you select those values which are the columns which you think may be relevant to your scenario. And for example, from the total columns which were coming, only these columns were selected. You had a whole host of other columns. And then what I'm showing here 3 frameworks here. So this is the Vika framework. So we are doing decision tree based fraud detection. gradient boosted trees based fraud detection and naive Bayes based fraud detection. So there are different frameworks. This is Weka based machine learning for Java. This is Python based, scikit-learn based, and this is Spark based. Now, if I open any one of them, naturally, when you do machine learning, the first step is pre-processing, and before you even pass your data set to the model, you have to do a train test split. Now, all those details be related to your parameters, the amount of the ratio by which you have to do the train test split is something which you can specify here. Here, the percentage split is 66, which means 2/3 of your data go for training, 1/3 goes for testing. The parameters for decision tree or other algorithms that you want to specify, you may specify here the batch size, that you want to collapse the tree, confidence vector, and so on. And the fields which are, of course, interest to you. Here, training data sources, what is coming from the previous step, but in case you want to do something, you want to have a separate train set, you can have two previous steps, one supplying your train set, one supplying your test set. So it's not necessary that you always give one set and ask it to split between test and train. You can provide your own train and test sets, and naturally when you start monitoring your model, which is the next stage, then this is very helpful, because monitoring is actually part of monitoring involves you labeling your outcome, where you actually want a model to be tested against a standard benchmark which you provide the test set. So it's not just a sampling or a splitting of your incoming data set, it is some curated data set that has been generated by you. Of course, since it is a machine learning model, and here we are doing supervised learning, and it's actually anomaly detection, so fraud detection rather, same thing. So you have to have a label, a target field, so you can report which column is your target. And this is for one case. Similarly, you can do it for gradient boosting. Gradient boosting will have its own set of parameters. So learning rate, loss, max depth, max features in it, and minimum samples, leaf, and so on. And some parameters, of course, are the same, because these are actually related to how you split the data. And so in any machine learning, as Abhilasha was mentioning, you have MLOps. So MLOps, the very premise of MLOps is that there are some standard processes which you have anyway to do. So why not standardize them? Why not have reusable code for it, which is actually secure and which ensures quality? So Pentaho actually does it for you by giving you separate options where you can actually set up your different values, be it related to train test split or other things, as we'll see shortly. And what you do here is you, again, in this case, I'm doing for naive Bayes, and this is using Spark. Now, again, you take the parameters which are related to naive Bayes, and one important thing is that, which applies to all algorithms for that matter, is that you save your model somewhere. So you provide a path where your model is to be saved. So here I'm saving the model in my repository, so it gets saved as with this name, ml lib nb.model. So this is the deep learning Spark based model which is saved, and this is essentially a model building exercise. So this is titled as build models, and the output of this exercise, what is the output? So if you see, for example, for each model, because you are building the model, you will have certain features, characteristics of the model. So if you see this, you will see from the data set which you got, the labeled data set, what was the mode of evaluation that you used, how many were classified correctly, how many were not classified. In this case, everything was classified. How many are correct, how many are incorrect. So the same kind of evaluation metrics which you have for any machine learning model, like precision, recall, F1 score, and so on. So all these metrics come in. Of course, they depend on the model which you're interested in. And we will not be using all of these metrics for our case, because depending on the use case you're working on, these will change. So in this case, it is very important that a fraudulent transaction is detected. So a transaction which is fraudulent should not be missed. It should not happen that you should not have a false negative. So it's important to consider which kind of cases you want to minimize, to focus on which kind of accuracy you're interested in. So there are times where you want to minimize the false positives. There are times where you want to minimize the false negatives. and then you decide whether precision or recall or maybe the harmonic mean, which is reference score, is more important. So, but what happens here is that I've combined the results here. So for the 3 models that you have the relevant features, the relevant characteristics, or rather parameters stacked, and you can see which one of them have performed better. So in this case, the percentage accuracy is actually highest for in terms, if you just see how many characters higher for Spark MLOps, you can compare the other features also. So I mean, one may just not look at one of these features to say which is best. So it's actually dependent on the use case which you are working on. But then, having said that, this was just the model building exercise. Now no ML model is good unless you start using it. So let me come to the prediction part first. So again, when your model is deployed in production, so how is the model made here? The model PDI has this plugin PMI, which has these 6 engines available, and different models implemented in different engines. Not every model is implemented in every engine, but you have a good variety for many models for different engines. And when you make a model, so a model is essentially saved as your H5 or .lib or .model or other format which you generally store a model in. And once that model is available to you, then you can call that model as you would call it when you have it on your local for making predictions. And the step with which you make predictions, so all this is essentially what you have done previously. But when you make predictions, you make use of this step, which is PMI scoring. And PMI scoring can be used for both purposes. It can be used for monitoring and can be used for evaluation. So if you see here, it has of course you specify the file which you want to do monitoring for, the model that you want to monitor. And here, this is for the scikit-learn based gradient boosted trees model. And you of course pass the features which were relevant there, and this is simply defining what model is being evaluated. But then coming back here, you ask it to output the probabilities based on the data that you are seeing. So it is essentially a prediction based on the new data which you are getting. Now here it is just doing prediction, and based on your prediction, you can actually take further steps. For example, now the threshold beyond which a transaction is to be considered a fraudulent transaction, or other thresholds which you may have for your respective cases, they got to be considered for deciding whether a particular transaction or the relevant set of features falls in a particular category. So you define the thresholds, and you maybe in this case we are checking the percentiles for calculating fraud likelihood. So this would vary from case to case certainly, and essentially this is a case of classification where you decide whether a transaction is a fraudulent transaction or not. In other cases, like where you have to predict the customer premium amount, those are regression based scenarios where you can use the relevant machine learning models. But now coming to the monitor models part. So as I said, PMI can be used for both purposes. If you just use it for output, if you just check this out, and if this is enabled, then it enables you to do prediction. If you are just using it for monitoring may involve prediction. So monitoring may be preceded by prediction, of course, but then monitoring is an end in itself where so it's not an end itself in the sense that it will be used for retraining your model, but then you can perform it independently as well. And you check this, that you have to perform evaluation, and then you want to output the information, whatever is getting generated, and the same information as was generated before is generated again for the input which you are seeing in production. So at the end of the day, model monitoring, as we have discussed earlier, takes care of enables you to have a glimpse of what is going on with your model, whether your data is drifting, whether your model accuracy is drifting, whether your model is having bias, or whether there is speech attribution. So in other platforms, like for example in AWS, when you do MLOps, you have specialized reports for that. But then the downside of that is because they are specialized reports, then it's maybe you'll have to spend more in configuring them, more effort in configuring them. However, it's Pentaho, in Pentaho, you can very easily choose the filters that you want to apply and have very beautiful customized reports created for yourself. Now, this was so much about AI/ML in Pentaho. So this was just for one use case which I took up here for demonstrating how we build a model, how we do predictions using a model, and then how we evaluate the model, how we monitor the model. And here, this was 3 transformations. But then in any real scenario, real platform. So if you are, for example, designing a SaaS product, if you're designing an AI powered platform where the front end is, of course, your charts and reports and so on, but essentially they are powered by AI in the sense that many values which you see there, they may be the count of fraudulent transactions, they may be the premium, they may be certain other predictions which you do using machine learning, deep learning, etc. So those things are better powered by a well-connected set of jobs beneath. And if you are not using Pentaho, if you are using, say, Python, if you are, for example, you can do virtually the same thing in Pandas. In fact, most people would do it in Pandas. So yes, people who have practiced in Pandas can do it, but then those who don't may not necessarily have to go for Pandas or other coding frameworks, other frameworks where you have to code. You can use this low code framework. And another reason why you should go for it, and you may not feel the need to go for Pandas, or rather you would not go for Pandas even if you're aware of it, is because in any application, in any SaaS application, or platforms in general, it's not one machine learning model that you have to cater to. You have to cater to a whole bunch of machine learning models. You have to make models. You have to ensure that a large number of ETLs, they may be 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 50, whatever, they are running in sync. Now, Pentaho, because it's an ETL tool, it actually allows you to run transformations in sequence. So you can combine transformations using jobs. Jobs ensure that your transformations run in sequence. The second transformation starts before your first transformation, after your first transformation finishes. And even if you have to put a wait option, you can put that wait option there. If your data gets partially loaded into the table, you can have a rollback there. It's not as if you can't do those things in Python or Pandas or other languages. I mean, Pandas is a part of Python, but Python or other languages, just that you'll have to code it up for every use case that you're doing. And your data sources, some of them may be big data sources. So you may have HBase on one side, you may have Postgres on the other side. When it is more important for you to rather take care of your front end where your reports are displayed, it's more important to get the data right. Why fuss so much about your code, which actually can be handled much more easily using Pentaho? So, and not just the Python part of it, but even the ML part of it. Now, as Abhilasha mentioned, when we do machine learning using Pentaho, we of course it's about getting data from different sources, doing pre-processing, train, test, split. Then you design your model, and then you evaluate the model, test the model, and then monitor the model once it is deployed. Use the model for prediction setting. But once your model has made its predictions, those go into your reports, and Pentaho allows you to create beautiful reports using your data sets. And let me start with one very attractive functionality which Pentaho provides when it integrates the Psycho. So this functionality is available in Pentaho Enterprise Edition by default. So this is known as Pentaho Analyzer in the Enterprise Edition. But when you're in the Community Edition, which I'm demonstrating right now, you can as well replicate almost the same functionality using Psycho, which is a plugin which integrates within Pentaho Business Analytics Server. Now, this is a sample data set, and the sample data set has got a bunch of fields, a bunch of dimensions. So here, what I'm essentially trying to show is I'm trying to show the insurance charges which apply to different categories of people. So this data pertains to the United States. The different categories of people are smoker and non-smokers, and I do it for both genders, male and female, and for reasons as well, different reasons of the states. And this is a drag and drop functionality. You choose whatever you want to, you can drag and drop. And if you want to count a number of children, for example, in each of these categories. So insurance, how much insurance a particular individual get depends, depending on the kind of insurance he's looking for. So how many members, I mean, it doesn't depend on that, but then those are associated attributes which you consider, the number of children there in the family. And of course, if you have a group insurance, I mean, for the entire family, then that gets considered directly. So these are different features which I had. Category is one of them, gender is one of them, reason is one of them, and they're showing up here. And I wanted to show charges, the number of children, the average age, and the average body mass index. Now, what is more important is that this will vary, of course, from one use case to another, and you can filter the way you want. So if you only want to filter for smokers, you don't want both categories, so you just take smoker out, and I mean, just filter for this, and you will have it only for smokers. And similarly, if you want to filter for a particular gender or for a particular reason, you do that. So, or for two reasons, say, you do that. But then this is only giving you tables. The beauty of it is drag and drop. It is a interactive report. It's customizable, but then tables only have limited value, and it would be awesome if you could convert them into charts. Now, the best feature which Psycho provides, Psycho when integrated with Pentaho setting, which Pentaho and Psycho combination provide you, is different kind of charts which you can just click and export this data into. For example, if I have this data and I want to export it, say, as a bar chart, well, this is my export. I may want to export it as a sunburst chart, another form of bar chart, or I may want to export it as different charts or a line chart, or I may want to do some kind of heat map, or I may want to do a radar chart. So all this is something for which you don't have to write separate components. Essentially, you may be whatever you are interested in seeing. So maybe this is too much. Let me remove the non-relevant fields. I mean, these are also relevant, but perhaps it's easier to start with one thing first. So this is where you see the information present as a bar chart, and then it's a different, it's bar chart only, but then it's stacked bar. And here it's actually, as you see here, it's bar 100%. So, I mean, you do it percentage wise, and then you separate. So depending on what you're interested in seeing, it produces the relevant graph for you. Now, again, it's not necessary that you have to keep the table open in the background. You can do whatever filtering you want to do here, and it will show for you. So if you want to, here only these two are filtered. Okay, let me remove this, or maybe let me add the other two also. Let me consider all the four, right? So all the four will rather go there and set, and your bar chart should get, the respective chart should get modified. So another thing is that there's a wide variety. You can use whatever you want. You can have a pie. A pie would look beautiful for certain cases. You can have a waterfall chart. You can have a dot chart. You can have multiple sunbursts associated with it. You can have a single sunburst associated with these. So whatever you drag and drop, and again, even these formats change depending on what you're trying to do. So if you want to see something, if you see here, these things are right now, they are rows. If I just change it as a column, it goes as a column, and then you have your chart exported in that perspective. So it's a very good functionality. You see the visualization you want to, and of course it's interactive, and you can also export your report. You can export it as a CSV or an XLS or a PDF, and or a PNG. For example, I exported one recently as a PNG, which is this, and I have another one exported, which is just a PDF, or you can export as Excel, of course. And this is on-demand kind of visualization, so you don't have to code for it, except for the fact that you have to ensure that your data set is present in a format which is consumable by Psycho and Pentaho combination, by Psycho Analyzer. Rest of it can be done by Psycho itself by just drag and drop. But then this is one functionality which is interactive and customizable. Another functionality which Pentaho provides, as Abhilasha was mentioning, is your dashboards, community dashboard edition, where you can have other features as well. For example, here I'm showing a map along with a table. Now it's a very simple case, but then what you see here is, so this is again a very sample where I'm showing depending on the state which I choose, the cities which are there and their latitudes and longitudes, and of course you will have other information come in the insurance related data set which pertains to the insured amount and so on, which I've used in the previous data set, but for this purpose I'm showing only these four columns. And as you change, the chart will essentially change depending on the state which you're looking at, and the map changes, the below part changes. And the good thing is that of course you can sort here and sort and have other options. So here's just one page, but in case there were many fields, there were many points for many cities in a given state, then you would essentially have a paginated result. So where you could actually go to the other page and see the things for yourself. Not that it's not there in Saiku. In Saiku also you can do sorting the way you want. For example, if I just go to table, I'll just maybe remove other things to keep it simple. Now this is your gender. Now you want to sort it by gender. You want to limit the number of results. You want to sort it. You want to sort in ascending, descending. You choose that and it does the thing. And similarly, if you want to calculate totals, you want to calculate totals by or sum by row and so on. So that thing is very much evident here also, just that when you have a complete dashboard, so all the features that you see here, all the charts that you see here can very well be integrated here, because Pentaho has all those functionalities. So if I show you the charts, the vast variety of charts which is available with Pentaho, the different kind of components which are available with Pentaho, then they are actually they range from table to query to button to multi-button. These are selected components. But when you go to charts, charts is a very wide variety which includes a plot of area, bar chart, and so on. So I'm using the map chart in a table component for display here. So this essentially is a demonstration of Pentaho's capability, whereby you can actually have very good visualizations, on-demand visualizations. So you don't essentially have to code every bit of it, particularly in Saiku, where although the max you need to do is to have a schema ready for Saiku with the respective data set, which means fact table and dimension tables created. And of course, that's not a small task, because here it's a smaller data set. If you have a bigger data set, things may go, or if you don't design your schema well. But then once you design it, your job is only to drag and drop and see the visualization for yourself. So with this, I actually want to conclude our session on AI/ML using Pentaho, designing AI-powered platform. So when you talk about designing AI-powered platform, it's essentially doing the entire process end to end. A platform is essentially a combination of your so it has a front end where you have reports and reports in terms of graphs and other statistics, but then a platform has a backend where it is powered by different, well, so if you're using ML, if you're doing deep learning, so you have an ML engine powering it, and that ML engine could be Python based, could be Spark based, could be Weka based, could be Java based. And Pentaho allows you to put it all together, so you need not be expert in everything. You just know Pentaho a bit, and it will allow you to do it. And so it completes the entire circle end to end. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Shubham, and thank you to the other speakers as well. We do have a couple of questions, Shubham. If you can have a look at the Q&A section.
Sure. So the first question is, I use Pentaho data integration as an ETL tool at work, but I want to know if there is a more powerful or better tool that's highly used. If yes, should I use another, or I'm just fine with Pentaho? Note, I mostly use it for loading databases or transforming files and then output a data set as CSV depending on requirement. So, well, if I'm pronouncing your name properly, Rupert, so you, this question is a very valid question, because there are indeed other tools which are even better than Pentaho in ETL. For example, Informatica is one of the best tools which is used for data integration, and it's not open, so it doesn't have an open source version like Pentaho does. But then when it comes about designing a platform end to end, where you just not have to do data integration, you have to do other tasks also. You have to do interactive reporting, maybe static reporting using Pentaho Report Designer, interactive reporting using dashboards to Saiku. Then Pentaho is overall the best, because it is a suite. And another reason why that is so, and maybe the more important reason, is if you are just using Informatica or other, say, talent for data integration, you will not get the benefit of synergy which Pentaho provides. These different client tools in Pentaho provide with respect to one another. So in business analytics server, in Pentaho business analytics, you can run jobs which are designed through Pentaho data integration. You can view reports which are designed through Pentaho Report Designer. You can, of course, integrate Saiku, as I just talked about. So if you just have to focus on data integration, Pentaho, well, it's good enough. But then if you talk about the best tool for data integration, so Pentaho does many things. It may not be the best tool from one perspective. It may not even be the best visualization tools. Of course, you have other tools like Tableau where you can create stories and so on. You can create them in Pentaho also from a different perspective. If you design your dashboards in a maybe in a fashion in which they are linked together, so that you can recreate the stories you do in Tableau. But then I would say we should of course have this skill, because it's not just about one task, it's about an end-to-end platform design where your different components need to seamlessly integrate. So even though there are better tools in Pentaho, I would still recommend you to continue learning Pentaho better, because it's always good to have one solution for different pieces of yours which you have to work together, because it helps get things done faster, more neatly, and is easier to manage also. The next question or rather comment is, the session was great. Is this platform also available on cloud, or this should be installed as and used as an in-house server? So Pentaho is available. So these are, see, there are two components. One is the server, Pentaho Analytics server, and other is the client tool. Now, this is available as a client tool. PDI is available as a client tool, but of course you can have an instance on cloud where you can deploy it and use it from there. So when I was using it here for demonstration, I was essentially running the jobs from the client tool, but this is not the way it would be used in a production scenario, because in a production scenario, it would run on a cloud where you can execute these jobs from remote. So these Pentaho actually, OCatl, Pentaho data integration executes these jobs, execute through certain command line functionalities, which for jobs is kitchen, for transformations is span. So you do have these are client tools which would work in house, but then you can deploy them on cloud. And when you say is it available on cloud, I mean, Pentaho is open source, right? It is an enterprise edition, but then it's not something which is actually provided by a cloud provider explicitly. It is like any other open source thing which you can deploy and run on cloud. Is there any other question?
No, I think this is all that we have for today. Thank you once again, Shubham. Thank you, Scott, and thank you, Abhilasha, and thank you everyone for joining us today. I hope this was a fruitful session from for you all, and I hope to see you back again for our future sessions.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.